Can he make it back to Tier 1 Valorant? SkRossi has come back to rock bottom. He's back to square one once again after years of hard work. Will he be able to climb back to Tier 1 Valorant once again from India? SkRossi is a name that answers the question, who is India's best Valorant player, for the better part of the last 3 years. He worked his way up until he reached the point of becoming India's global FPS phenomenon, whom everyone looked up to and celebrated as India's pride and hope. He reached the pinnacle of international competition in Valorant while being GE's talisman and deservedly took his place amongst the best in the world in 2023 with GE's rise to the VCT Pacific. Something he had been dreaming about for the longest time and was adamant on achieving. He became an icon to thousands of kids who wanted to become like him. But after a few lackluster performances on the big stage, he took a hit, in-game and mentally. He was ridiculed by a lot of people, especially after the LCQ last year, where a lot of people were hoping that he would step up.
And once again, it was kind of the faltering SkRossi on the Jet. It just wasn't quite enough, compared to what you saw on the other side of the coin for RRQ.
Meanwhile, SkRossi wasn't able to find as much success. And then down the line from RRQ, everyone having...
Unfortunately for him, it seemed to be something that ticked off a decision-making frenzy at global esports. While this must have been a very difficult decision for both parties, GE had to think about competing more strongly, and SkRossi didn't necessarily provide the best evidence for him to be able to do that consistently. He too faced the axe and was cut off from Global's tree of elixir. He returned to India with a lot of mixed emotions, but still having shown his potential. In one of my previous videos, I mentioned that SkRossi should probably not be coming back to India and be a little bit more selfish about his career and try to survive and thrive in a more competitive zone than South Asia. But that doesn't seem to be the case. SkRossi has been almost confirmed to be sporting himself back in the VCL South Asian circuit, this time under Revenant Esports' banner. The reports and rumors of this man's next home have been flying around the internet. And to be very honest, he's got a pretty decent squad around him too. SkRossi, Paradox, Skills, Severine, and Dosnai. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. It is a team worthy of being sent to Ascension, at least on paper. Yes, initially it was reported that SSK was supposed to be joining this roster and Severine was the coach, but I think there has been changes on the back of Severine being now a player in the squad, given the fact that SSK probably is not going to be able to make it to Revenant's roster as reported here. But still, this is a pretty solid squad. But will this team get him the golden ticket to the chocolate factory? I'm not sure. Let me tell you why. First of all, let's take a look at South Asia itself. While the long-standing history of Indian teams competing in international competition hasn't been the most glamorous thing, something has lit a spark in the recent course of time. Something is different. Something is changing as we speak in all South Asian teams. True Rippers' undeniably amazing performance against Gen G and Foot showed a spark in Indian Valorant that we quite literally had never seen before. Whether you were a TR fan or not, you were rooting for them when they picked off that first map of Gen G and drove Foot and them to overtime on 2 other maps as well. No Salary Peak or the ex-Orangutan squad, who had won their ticket to the LAN finals of the Acer Predator League back in 2023, had gone to Manila as a broken team on the back of whatever they knew just as before exiting OG as team practice. They drove Team Secret to a very scary 13-11, which in all honesty NSP should have won and beat the other 2 teams in their group to finish second. Unfortunately, this team didn't qualify, but even they showed up against the SEA in a way that we've not seen before in the past 3 years. True Rippers were that close to beating a tier 1 team in the Pacific, Gen G, and that close to taking a map off of the 3rd best team in the EMEA last season, who were also a Masters and Champions attendee team, Foot. It caused an outrage of questions and hope as well. Main one being, has India finally caught up with the rest of the world in Valorant? And if it has, with teams like these standing up stronger in 2024, SkRossi and co are definitely going to have their work cut out for themselves, because they won't be able to just shoot through the competition like OG did last season. MLT picking up the ex-OG squad, which is rumored to be true. Reckoning Esports getting stronger as well this year. And outright, there's just a lot more competition in South Asia this time around. He's probably going to have to put way more effort into Valorant this year, because this year is probably going to be the most important for him and his career. Is he going to be able to go all the way this time by himself? Is he still good enough? So many questions piled up on his head right now. If Revenant are able to withstand and defeat the competition in South Asia, the Ascension circuit waits for them, which is a lot more cutthroat. There, they've got Boom, Alter Ego, D+, SLT, Naos, Oasis, Cars, Northeption, Fennel, and who knows which new team waiting for them. SkRossi's rise to the top in 2023 came partly from GE being selected, of course, into the franchise league. But now to get there again, he's going to have to work his behind off, double down, and start again from literal square one. The competition is only getting tougher and more in number. Yes, he's the best ever from our country. Yes, he's got the potential to be at the top. And yes, he's someone who can possibly go all the way. But now it's come to a point where the margin of error has almost become non-existent. This is why his destination becomes a lot more harder to reach this time. This is why Tier 1 as of now is the farthest away from him. This is the pinnacle moment of his Valorant career so far. And he has to show why he deserves to be at the top. And it has to come from him to show that he can rise up once again starting from day one itself. I'd mentioned this before and I would have preferred it to be the case that if SkRossi individually was a little more selfish about his career, preferred for him to stay in the Japanese, Korean or the SEA region where he would be under constant pressure and learning curve of the best players in the Pacific and grow individually, and who knows where his career would have gone if he had chosen to go to another team. And I'm probably going to take a shot in the dark here, but I'm almost certain that he definitely must have gotten some offers from any of these regions because he is a great player. But he took his decision to come back to India and drive himself to the top from his homeland. Of course, he did the decision knowing better than anybody else because he knows himself and what he can do and where he must be doing what he does best. And I really hope he's able to reach the top once again because I love the man. But this time, his journey to the peak of the mountain is going to be twice as hard. His foes are going to be coming straight for him. He's going to be at the center of South Asian Valorant once again. The king now needs to fight for the biggest throne of his life.